begin by lying down in constructive rest pose. The reason we have the knees bent here, the feet on the floor with the knees bent, is that it lets the lumbar curve rest in its neutral position. If we have the legs straight, it will arch more. You could try that for a moment. You stretch your legs all the way out. You've got more space between your lower back and the mat. And if we head the knees into the chest, the back goes flat. This is called spinal flexion. With the feet down, it's called neutral extension, and with the legs extended, it's called lumbar extension. So we're going to start with neutral. Just let the body relax down into the pull of gravity. Softening all unnecessary tension. Takes a little bit of effort to keep the legs up in this position, but really not much. So relax around the sacrum, soften in the hip creases, relax the low belly. Check in with your neck and shoulders, shoulder blades broad. Just relax every point that's touching the floor down into the floor. Bones settling, muscles softening. We'll continue today to explore the flat back, which is helpful for some of you. If you have a spondylo condition, you should use it all the time. If you have a stenosis, you may find that it is more comfortable and helpful. Others of us can explore it just as a way of strengthening in a different position. So one more class focusing on the flat back before we move up the spine next week. Let's start with the inner core in this relaxed neutral. Finding the pelvic floor, picturing the diamond of the pelvic floor, anchor to the tailbone, each sit bone, the pubic bone. Draw that diamond in your mind's eye. Take an inhale, and then shrink the diamond as you exhale. And see how specifically you can do that with no added tension in the buttocks or the hip, the front of the thighs. And relax. And let's do that again. Inhale, picturing the diamond of the pelvic floor. And then exhale, shrinking in towards its center. Relax the shoulders and the face as you do that. And then relax completely. Let it go. And let's do that one more time. Inhale, prepare for the pelvic diamond. And exhale, shrink it down. This time, squeeze the sphincters and think of the perineum lifting towards the crown of the head. We're still trying not to over squeeze the buttocks or clench the front of the hips, the thighs. And then relax completely. And release into neutral. Then let's think of the transversus belt, the muscle that wraps all the way around the torso to support the sacrum and the lower back. Take an inhale, picturing that belt of support. And then exhale, gently wrap the belt around, snugging it across the hip points. Imagine it buckling underneath the navel. Feel that snugness, three-dimensional, 360 degrees around the body. And then relax. And release completely. And again, picture the belt. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, gently snug the belt all the way around the lower torso. Keep the shoulders and face relaxed. And then release completely. Relax into the flow of gravity. One more time at the transversus belt. Inhale, prepare. And exhale, gather it all the way around the lower torso. Buckle it beneath the belly button. Maintain for a moment. Check the shoulders, relax them. And then release. Let's put those two pieces together. Inhale, prepare for the inner core, starting with the pelvic floor. Shrink the diamond and then gently gather that belt around. Lots of support around the pelvis and the lower back. And then relax and release. And again, picture the two parts of the inner core. And then as you exhale, shrink the diamond and gather the belt. And then relax. Let it go completely. And one more time. Inhale, prepare for the inner core. And exhale. Shrink the pelvic floor. Gather the belt. Snug it around the hips. Relax the shoulders. And then relax completely. Release into the neutral rest position. And I'd like you to picture a little saucer sitting right on the front of the pelvis, right in the pelvic basin. And imagine a marble sitting in the center of that saucer. We're going to start doing some rectus abdominis engagement, tilting the pelvis, which will tilt the saucer, not by pressing into the feet or squeezing the buttocks, which would be an easy way to flatten the back. In fact, feel that right now. Press into your feet, engage the buttocks, and flatten your back down. You can feel a lot of work in the lower body as you do that. And then relax back to neutral. We're going to try to find the work in the front of the body to do that and keep the feet and the buttocks relaxed, at least for now. So we'll start with the inner core engagement. Find the pelvic floor and wrap the belt. And then picture that saucer, and without pressing into your feet, see if you can roll that marble towards the navel. You're going to pull the pubic bone towards the navel. You might not get your back plastered down onto the mat quite so much, but you should feel a lot of work, intensity in that lowest abdominal area. And then release. Let the marble roll back into the center of the saucer. Keep the shoulders relaxed. And let's do that again. Find the inner core, and then tilt the saucer so the marble rolls towards the navel. Again, try not to be pressing off of your feet or squeezing the buttocks to do this, but engage the muscle that runs up from the pubic bone to the sternum. And then release and relax. Keep the shoulders soft. And one more time. Start with the inner core, and then tilt the saucer. Now when you keep that saucer tilting, bring the arms down to the sides and do the arm lifts. I'm going to keep that back flattening. Again, it may not be completely pressed down into the floor. I don't want you to concentrate on that. I want you to concentrate on the feeling in the front of the belly between the pubic bone and the navel. Keeping that navel scooped in and the pubic bone tilted towards the navel as we do the arm lifts. Inhale, bring the arms up to vertical. And then keep that pelvic tilt as you reach the arms back towards the floor behind you. You're going to have to increase the effort to keep that tilt happening as the arms go back. Inhale, bring the arms up towards the ceiling. And then relax the arms down to the side. We're going to keep the inner core and the pelvic tilt going and do another repetition. Inhale, arms float up. So you're still tilting the saucer. Take the arms back. Continue to roll that marble towards the navel. See if you can do it without pressing into your feet. Your elbows may bend, that's fine. And inhale, bring the arms up towards the ceiling. And keep tilting the saucer as you lower the arms down to the sides. And we're going to do it one more time. Maintain, re-engage that inner core. Tilt the saucer again, and inhale, arms float up. And continue to tilt the saucer as you take the arms back. Soften the elbows if you like. Keep tilting the saucer as the arms come up to the ceiling. And keep tilting the saucer as you lower the arms down. And now feel what happens as you release. The pelvis just floats back into its neutral position. Allow the belly, the low abdominal muscles to soften. And feel that neutral lower back curve. And then we're going to bring the hands behind the head. Interlace the fingers and open the elbows out wide. First, just warming up the obliques a little bit. As you inhale, feel that your ribs are flaring. And then as you exhale, knit your front ribs together. Unflare them. And inhale, feel how the ribs are flaring in the front and pulling away from the mat in the back. And as you exhale, bring those back ribs down into the mat. Not your lower back, but just your lower back ribs imprinting into the mat. And inhale, relax that. And again, with your exhale, unflare the front ribs. And let them flare with the inhale. Bring your attention to the back ribs. And without flattening the lower back, exhale, imprint those back ribs down into the mat. Once more, inhale, let the ribs flare. And exhale, unflare the front ribs. And inhale, let them flare again. And pay attention to the back ribs. As you exhale, imprint the back ribs, keeping your neutral lower back curve. And inhale, relax. And we're going to lead into a head lift and go back to the flat back with the saucer tilt. So we begin the whole thing with the inner core engagement. And then without pressing into the feet, tilt the pelvis. Let the marble roll towards the navel without pressing into the feet. Now knit the front ribs together, imprint the back ribs. So you've got a flat back in lower curve and your back ribs imprinting, and keep that as you lift up into a little head lift. And then maintain that tilted pelvis, that rib imprint as the head comes down. And again, lift and lower. And one more time, keep tilting the pelvis, imprinting the back ribs. And lower. Keep it for a moment so you're really clear. And then relax completely. And release your arms down. We're going to bring the hands to rest so that the thumbs are on the low ribs, the fingers on the hip points, so you can observe the pelvic tilt. And we're going to do a little different variation of the alternate leg lift, which will include a heel slide as well. So let's start with the inner core and the saucer tilt. Again, see if you can do that without squeezing the buttocks or pressing off of your feet. Then let's add the knit and the imprint of the ribs, so we're well engaged in the whole core. And then slide your right leg away without allowing your pelvis to untilt. Keep it in that tilted position. Keep rolling the marble. You should feel your hip point staying in the same point. Now keep tilting the pelvis as you slide the heel in. And as you slide in, it's take off, and you're going to lift the foot up off of the floor, continuing to tilt the pelvis, flattening the lower back, and then flex your foot. Extend the leg out at about 45 degrees. Keep tilting the pelvis and bend the knee. And continue to have that pelvic tilt as you lower your right foot down to the floor. Inner core is engaged, the pelvis is tilting, ribs knitting and imprinting. And we're going to slide the left heel away, keeping the pelvis tilted. So you're going to feel your whole back flattening down towards the floor. If you can't go all the way out to straight, don't. Just keep the knee a little bit bent. Slide back in. Keep tilting the pelvis. Continue to tilt the pelvis as you lift the left foot up. And then keep that pelvic tilt as you flex your foot. Extend the left leg away. 45 degrees, halfway between the ceiling and the floor. Keeping that lower back flattened by tilting the pelvis. Lower the foot back down. And then relax. And you should feel the pelvis move. The ribs are going to open, your lumbar curve is coming, and we're going to release everything for a moment. So we're going to do that same thing again. We begin with the inner core, pelvic floor, belt. Roll that marble. Please don't push off of your feet. Think of tilting the pelvis by pulling pubic bone to navel. Knit and imprint the ribs. Keep that pelvic tilt going and slide your right heel away from you. If you can't get all the way out straight with that, if you lose your pelvic tilt, don't go all the way out straight. And keep tilting the pelvis. Slide the heel back in, and then lift off. Keep tilting the pelvis. Flex your foot, extend the leg halfway between the ceiling and the floor. Keep tilting the pelvis, bend the knee. And continue with the pelvic tilt as you lower down. We're going to maintain it, and then extend the left leg. Slide the left heel away. Keep rolling the marble from the pubic bone to the navel. Slide the heel back in, continue to tilt the pelvis and lift off, left foot comes up. Continue to tilt the pelvis as you flex your foot, extend the leg out, and then bend the knee. Keep that marble rolling towards the navel and lower the foot down, and then let everything relax. Feel the shift in position. Take a moment. We're going to do that sequence one more time. Prepare inner core. Roll the marble. Really make this very clean so you're not pushing off of your feet to get your pelvis tilted. Knit and imprint the ribs. And keep the pelvic tilt as you slide the right heel away. And continue to tilt the pelvis. Keep drawing the pubic bone towards the navel. Slide the right heel in. Continue to flatten the back and lift off, right foot up. Flex your foot, extend your leg, and keep tilting the pelvis. Keep flattening the back as you bend your knee. And then I want you to please stay there and circle the right ankle. We're still in a pelvic tilt, flat back, and reverse the circles. Continue to tilt the pelvis, then flex the foot back. Reach out through the ball of the foot, and then point the toes. Pull the toes back, and then pull your whole foot back. Still in the flat back. Reach out through the ball of the foot, then point the toes, flex the toes back, and then flex the whole foot back at the ankle. One more time. Reach out. It's like a high heel shoe, and then you point your toes, pull the toes back, and pull back at the ankle. Then squeeze your toes, and fan your toes out. Squeeze and fan, and we're still in a flat back. Squeeze and fan, and squeeze and fan. Relax your foot, but keep your flat back. Lower the right foot down, and then relax to neutral. Soften everything. And let's set it up again. Inner core, tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint. Keeping the pelvic tilt, slide the left heel away, and continue to flatten the back. Slide the heel back in, and lift off, lift the left foot up. Keep the pelvic tilt, flex your foot, extend your leg out, halfway between the ceiling and the floor. Continuing to tilt the pelvis, and then keep your foot there and circle the ankle. We're still in the pelvic tilt, flat back, and reverse the circles. Keep drawing the pubic bone towards the navel. Flex your foot back, and reach out through the ball of the foot, then point the toes. Pull the toes back, and pull the whole foot back at the ankle. Reach out with the ball of the foot, point the toes, pull the toes back, and then flex. Keep your pubic bone drawing to the navel. One more time. Reach out to the ball of the foot and point the toes. Pull the toes back. Flex the whole foot back. And then squeeze the toes and fan those wide apart as possible. Squeeze and fan. Squeeze. Fan one more time. The back is still flattening. And fan. Relax the foot. Keep the pelvic tilt going. And lower the left foot down to the floor. And then relax into neutral. Take a break, take the arms comfortably wide, soften for a moment there. And we're going to set it back up again. Let's continue to use the hands on the ribs and the pelvis to feel. Engage the inner core. Tilt the pelvis by rolling that marble towards the navel. Knit and imprint. Flat back. And keep the back flat as we do a compound leg lift. Lift the right up. And keep flattening the back as you lift the left. And keep flattening the back as you lower the right. Keep tilting the pelvis, rolling the marble as you lower the left. And now start with the left. Keep tilting the pelvis. Roll the marble towards the navel. Lift the right. And lower the left. You're still tilting the pelvis. And lower the right. And then relax to neutral. Let it all go for a moment, and then we're going to set up the flat back for pistons. Start with the inner core, tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint, and take the right leg up, keep it up, and then the left, and keep it up. Keep tilting the pelvis, rolling the marble towards the navel as we go into pistons. So we're going to keep that flat back and lower. Tap the right toes down and lift back up. If you can't get the foot all the way down without losing your flat back, then don't go all the way down. And keep the lower back flat as you tap the toe and come back up. Continue to pull navel or pubic bone towards navel and backwards you're staying down. That'll help you if you use your obliques in the same direction. And lower the left. Keep flattening the back. Keep drawing the pubic bone up towards the navel. Exhale down and inhale up. So only one leg is moving at a time. Keep drawing the pubic bone towards the navel, rolling the marble, tilting the saucer. Now we're going to stop when you're even on both directions, keeping the flat back, one hand to each knee, relax the legs, keep the flat back and take the knees out wide, and then circle the legs around. Loose hip circles, See if you can keep your lower back flattening, so we're not letting the pelvis wobble around today. Just loosen the legs in reverse. And then keeping one hand on each knee, pull the knees in close and just enjoy a little lower back stretch. Relax the feet there. Now having the knees in towards the chest is helping your lower back. But we're going to go to a tabletop with a flat back, so we have to re-engage the inner core, the pelvic tilt, move the knees out a little bit and raise the feet. Continuing to have the back flat, and knit and imprint the ribs, lower the right foot down, keep it down, keep tilting the pelvis, lower the left leg down, keep it down, keep tilting the pelvis for a moment, and then release and relax. And now we're going to go to the 100 with the flat back. Inner core, tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint. We're going to start by lifting the left leg up, keeping the back flat, add the right leg. So we have a tabletop position with a flat back, arms down to the sides, knit and imprint the ribs and press the palms down, feel the backs of the arms. Lift the head, bringing the chin in towards the chest. Keep the back flat, even if that means keeping your knees bent. If you like, you can extend the legs, keep flattening. Externally rotate the legs, keep flattening, scoop the belly in, and then with your arms pulsing above the floor 5 times as you exhale, and then 5 times as you inhale. Tilting the pelvis the whole time. Exhale for 5, and inhale for 5. Exhale, flat back by pulling pubic bone to belly. Inhale. Exhale, scoop the belly button into the spine, and inhale. Exhale, and inhale. Exhale, and inhale. Keep flattening the back. Drop the shoulders down, draw the chin in towards the chest. Inhale, exhale, and inhale. Once again, exhale, and inhale. And then bend the knees, one hand to each knee, and pull the knees in close to the chest. Rush your head down. Again, enjoy the lower back stretch and slowly turn your head from one side to the other. Then we're going to float the arms up into vertical, relax the shoulders. So we're going to start in this flattened back position and then make a circle on the ceiling with the knees. If you like, you can go all the way out to neutral. But if you want to keep the circle small and continue to work on the flat back, you could stay in the region of the sacrum. Relax the shoulders, engage the inner core, draw the pubic bone towards the navel, keep the shoulders relaxed and the arms very still, and then tilt the knees over to one side, and you can reach them away, drawing a circle over to the other side, and come back into the center where your lower back is flat, and then reverse the circles. So feel free to experiment with a little bit bigger range of motion, but your guiding principle is going to be that the back ribs stay down, and the shoulders stay relaxed and still. Reverse direction each time you come back into that tucked in position with the knees towards the chest. Keep the shoulders very easy, dropping down to the floor. Arms should be still. If they're moving, then you're using your arms and your upper body to counterbalance the movement rather than relying on the low core. Let's do one more in each direction. Keep those shoulders dropped and easy. Circle around. Back into the tuck each time. Another way. Once you've completed the circles in an equal number of times each direction, I'm going to bring the arms down. Actually, no, we're going to bring the hands on the ribs and the pelvis. Re-engage the inner core. Feel that pelvic tilt. Knit and imprint the ribs. Lift your feet as high as your knees, and then we're going to lower the left foot down first. Keep the back flat. Keep tilting the pelvis. And the right foot down. Keep tilting the pelvis. Keep tilting the pelvis. and then relax and feel the shift in the position. Take the arms out wide for a moment, release into neutral. And then we're going to use a small ball between the knees, small ball or folded blanket or towel. Take the upper body relaxed. If you have something behind actually you can leave it for a moment. We're going to go to a pelvic lift, but first we're going to work with the pelvic tilt. So if you have something behind your head, leave it there for the first couple exercises here. We re-engage the inner core and tilt the pelvis. Knit and imprint the ribs and keep the lower back flattening as you squeeze into the ball. Keep tilting the pelvis and squeeze, continue. And then in very slow motion, with the pelvis still tilted, we're going to slowly unsqueeze. Pelvis is staying still. We're continuing to tilt the pelvis. Roll that marble towards the navel. And do it again. Squeeze and maintain. Keep tilting the pelvis. Shoulders should be relaxed. Neck and face easy. And continue to tilt the pelvis as you slowly unsqueeze. In slow motion, keep that navel drawing towards the spine, the pubic bone pulling towards the belly button, scooping the navel in. One more time, tilting the pelvis and squeezing on the ball and maintain that squeeze. And then release the squeeze and then relax the work of the core, soften completely. And now if you have something behind your head, please take it out as we lead into a pelvic tilt, which will just be an extension of what we just did. So everything we just did and adding the lift of the hips. So of course we begin with the inner core and tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint, and squeeze the ball and maintain all of those activities as you press into the feet and lift the hips up off of the mat. Rolling up through the spine, keep squeezing on the ball, keep tilting the pelvis, keep squeezing on the ball and roll down. Check in with your inner core, make sure you've still got your inner core. Roll down, the ribs should imprint on the way down. You continue to tilt the pubic bone towards the navel. Come into a pelvic tilt, lower back flat, and then release to neutral, and then relax the squeeze on the ball. And give into gravity. Release completely. And we'll do it again. Inner core, pelvic tilt, knit and imprint. Squeeze the ball and keep squeezing. Press into the feet and lift. Want to make sure that you're evenly standing on the feet, so don't roll to the little toe side of the foot. Keep drawing the navel or the pubic bone towards the navel, scooping the navel towards the spine. Keep squeezing on the ball, and then roll down. Keep everything in place. Feel the imprint of the back ribs, the scoop of the navel, the pubic bone pulling towards the belly button, going down to a flat back. Continue to squeeze on the ball, and then release to neutral, and then let everything relax. And let's do that one more time. Inhale, prepare for the inner core, and tilt the pelvis. Knit and imprint, and squeeze the ball. Continue to squeeze in the ball, and raise the hips up, one vertebra at a time. Even stance on both feet. Keep tilting the pubic bone towards the navel, and continue to squeeze the ball. Roll down, imprint the back ribs, scoop the belly in. Keep rolling that marble towards the navel. Come to a flat back. You're still squeezing on the ball. And then release to neutral. And then let everything go. Okay, we're going to take the ball out. Take a moment in constructive rest pose. And then re-engage the inner core and tilt the pelvis. Imagine that marble rolling. And we're going to slide the left leg away, keeping the pelvic tilt. And then lift the right foot, bring the right knee into the chest, one hand onto each knee, and you can just passively go into the flat back stretch with your hands on your knee for a moment. Nice and long through the front of the left leg. Then re-engage inner core, pelvic tilt. Find the knit and imprint. Keep the lower back flattening as you extend the right leg up. And then again, let's place the hands on the ribs in the pelvis and circle the right leg 5 times around. Small circles. Try not to let the pelvis move, and do please maintain your flattening lower back. You're scooping the belly in, rolling the barbell towards the navel the whole time. Reset and reverse. Keep tilting the pelvis. Pelvis is still, lower back is flat because you're drawing the pubic bone towards the navel. Now we're going to keep that back flattening, bend the right knee, use your right hand on your right knee, and pull your right knee towards your right armpit. Once you're in the stretch, you can let go of the core work. The arm is supporting that flattened back. Try not to roll over to the left side, however. The right side. Do keep your left hip down. Now re-engage, inner core, pelvic tilt, and we're going to switch. Pull the knee over towards the center line and let your left hand pull the right knee up and over towards the left shoulder. Don't lift the right hip up yet. We're going to keep even at the back of the pelvis, just stretching in the outer thigh. Now if you have a spondylotendinous condition, just stay here. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and let this move all the way into a spinal twist. Bringing the knee towards the floor on the left with the support of the left hand. And go only as far as is comfortable for you. You don't have to get the knee to the floor or anywhere in particular. And you can adjust the right arm. You can just bring it right down to the side if you want and just emphasize the stretch of the right hip. Or if you want some stretch in the right shoulder, adjust the arm where it's comfortable there. Make sure you can breathe slowly and smoothly. Now relax the right arm if you have a stretch there. Reconnect with your low core. Scoop the belly in. Roll to the back. And bring the right knee to the chest. Both hands. Maintain your rectus abdominis, pelvic tilt. And slide the left heel in. Lift off and bring the left knee into the chest as well. Once both knees into the chest, one hand on each knee, and relax into the stretch. And then re-engage the low core. Go into your neutral position with a flat back. Keep the pelvic tilt. Lower the right foot. Lower the left foot. And relax to neutral. And let's set it up for the other side. Inner core, pelvic tilt, knit and imprint. Slide the right heel away so the right leg is straight out on the floor. Keep tilting the pelvis and bring the left knee into the chest. Both hands on the knee, pull towards the breastbone, and then you can relax the core work and relax into the stretch. And then re-engage. Feel that saucer tilt. Keep the back flat as you stretch the left leg up to the ceiling. Feel the ribs and the hips and circle the left leg around 5 times. Lower back staying flat. You're tilting the pelvis and keeping the pelvis still from side to side, please. And then 5 times the other way. Check back in with the inner core, the pelvic floor, the belt, and that saucer tilt. Once you're done with the 5 in the second direction, you can bend the left knee. Keep your saucer tilt going. Bring your left hand onto your left knee and pull your left knee towards your left armpit. Without letting your right hip rise up off of the floor, once you're there, you can relax the core work. And then re-engage. Keep the pelvis tilting as you switch the knee towards the right shoulder. Don't let your left hip come up yet, but just pull up. Left knee towards right shoulder. Right hand is supporting the stretch. And then if you like, if it's safe for you, move all the way into a spinal twist, bringing the left knee towards the floor and the right with the support of the right hand. Find the right position where you're getting a good stretch for the hip, lower back, and adjust your left arm wherever it works for you. Breathe slowly and deeply into the twist. And then relax the left arm, reconnect the pubic bone towards the navel, and roll to the back. Keep tilting the pelvis and slide that right heel in, lift off, and bring the right knee to the chest. One hand on each knee, you can relax the abdominal work for a moment, stretching the lower back. And reconnect with the inner core, the saucer tilt. Lift the feet as high as the knees and lower. Left foot down first, keeping the flat back, and then right foot down. Keep tilting the pelvis, and then release to neutral. Okay, we're going to turn onto the stomach. Now we're going to begin with the hands right underneath the hip points. So you have the hip point directly into the center of your palm. Forehead on the floor. If you need a little support, you can put a thin folded towel underneath your forehead. You don't want to lift the forehead too high here, but support your neck if it makes it more comfortable. We're going to relax into the pull of gravity, allowing the front of the body to lengthen and relax, and see how much you can soften the back of the body. Let those hip points sink evenly into each palm. And we're going to work here to lengthen the front of the thighs, engage the hip extensor muscles in the buttock and the back of the leg, without compressing the lower back, without going into lumbar extension. So we're going to keep the lumbar curve as it is, engage the inner core, the pelvic floor, the belt. Think of your saucer tilt, which is now going to feel like pulling your pubic bone towards your navel and tucking your tail between your legs. And let each hip point drop evenly into the palm without any shifting from side to side. Unweight one leg, and then lower it down without shifting from side to side. Unweight the other. We want to definitely keep the inner core working. In addition to that pelvic tilt, lift one leg at a time. We want to feel as little effect in the lower back as possible. You should feel a lot of effect in the stabilizing muscles, and you're engaging your buttock and your back thigh, your hamstring, to do this. You might feel the stretch of the quadricep, the superficial hip flexors in the front of the leg as well. Alternate from side to side. As you alternate from side to side, we hope not to feel the pelvis rocking at all. So we're just moving the leg, but not letting the pelvis respond. If you're keeping the pelvis still, you'll be able to do this more pure hip extension without lumbar extension. When you've done that evenly to each direction, Let's bring the hips back to the heels and stretch the back out again in a child's pose. And then we're going to move on to left side, please. Beginning with the knees bent in a 45-degree hip flexion. This is essentially your constructive rest pose on your side. So we're going to let the neutral spine be in place and relax into that neutral spine position. This is not a dangerous position. This is a safe position, so you don't have to think about adjusting or flattening the back. Just let yourself sink into gravity in this relaxed position. Engage your inner core. Make sure that that right hip continues to stay forward. And then we're going to float the right knee up off of the left knee. And as we lower the right knee down, we're going to let the foot lift up towards the ceiling. And lower the foot and let the knee raise. And lower the knee and let the foot raise. So we're going external rotation in the hip joint and internal rotation in the hip joint. External rotation and internal rotation. The pelvis is still. External rotation and internal rotation. Keep relying on your inner core. Do that 5 more times. And then when you're done, relax completely. Soften into gravity's pull. And then we're going to move into a 90-degree position. Bring the feet and the knees to the front of the mat. We're still going to maintain a neutral lower back curve. Make sure the right hip is rolled a little forward. Engage the inner core and roll the leg out in the socket. We're just going to do external rotation here, 10 repetitions. Smooth, slow, neat, keeping the pelvis very stabilized. You want your belt wrapping around the whole time. Continue to renew the pelvic floor, the snug belt around the hips. And then relax. So I'd like you to place your hand on your lower back and then slowly move into hip extension all the way out. Now, you may find that your back gets very tight here. If that happens, don't go all the way quite out to 0-degree hip extension. You might not be able to anyway, but we want to have the back relaxed as you straighten out the front of the thighs or move in that direction. And here we are going to think of our pelvic tilt to give a little extra protection because you can see how this might strain the back. So let's engage the inner core and tuck the tail gently between the legs, and then we'll roll the right leg out in the socket 10 times. Keeping the inner core and the pelvic tuck happening. When you're done, you can relax, and we're going to lie on the back in neutral for a moment. Really good practice to continue to release the body, relax tension in the body. Just that activity in and of itself is therapeutic, so please remember, you can do this for 5 minutes at the end of the day. It's a great way to reset the body. And now we're going to turn to the right side. And we're beginning in the 45-degree hip flexion, constructive. Rest on the side, allowing the body to release into gravity here. Check that your your left hip is a little forward, and then engage your inner core. And we're going to take external rotation, and then as you lower the knee, we'll raise the left foot up. So roll out, knee up, and roll in, knee down, foot up. External rotation and internal rotation, and the pelvis stays still the whole time. Roll out, roll in, roll out, roll in. We have 5 more, please. External, then internal. Keep the pelvis still. And when you're done, relax. Let yourself sink into gravity. And then we're going to 90-degree hip flexion. We're staying neutral. Left hip a little forward. Engage the pelvic floor. Wrap the belt snugly. And 10 times external rotation with the left leg. Pelvis steady. Check back in. Keep snugging that belt. When you're done, relax. And feel your lower back as you go out to full hip extension. If you feel the back get very tight and compressed, don't go quite so far out. And we'll find the inner core and tuck the tail a little bit. And then with the pelvis steady, roll the left leg out in the socket 10 times. And when you're done, we roll to the back, returning to constructive rest pose. And we're going to do a stretch for those external rotators and the external, hip extensors. So we'll first stretch the hamstrings. When we stretch the hamstrings, we're going to keep the neutral spine. The hamstrings tend to pull down on the pelvis and flatten the back if they're very tight. So I want to here stretch the hamstrings without continuing to have that pull on the lower back. So for this first bit, we're going to engage the inner core, knit and imprint without tilting the pelvis, and lift the right foot up, bringing the right ankle to the left knee. Maintain your neutral spine and lift your left foot up off of the floor. So we're neutral spine, no flat back. Keep your tailbone down. Bring your hands behind your left thigh. If you need something behind your head, go ahead and put a blanket behind there so you can relax your shoulders and neck. Keep the tailbone down. Try not to roll to the right side. Inner core engaged. Ribs knitting and imprinting, and stretch the left leg up. Stretch the back of the leg, and then bend the knee. Keep the tailbone on the floor, neutral spine, and stretch up. Stretch the back of the left leg, and bend the knee. Again, inner core is strong. Ribs knitting and imprinting, reach up with the left leg, stretch the back of the leg and lower down. 2 more times, stretch up, and down, and 1 more time. Now tilt the pelvis and go ahead into a flat back. Continue to stay even left to right, don't roll to your right side. And now feel the stretch move into the right buttock. Drop the shoulders, Relax the face. Breathe into the stretch. Breathe slowly, smoothly. Now we're going to keep the flat back, reconnect with the inner core and the pelvic tilt. Keep the back flat as you lower the left leg down, and continue to tilt the pelvis as you bring the right foot down, and then relax into neutral. And reset inner core, ribs knitting and imprinting. Please keep your neutral lower back as you lift the left foot off the floor and bring the left ankle to the right knee. And maintain your neutral when you allow the inner core here as you lift the right foot up. Hold the back of the right leg. Keep the tailbone down. Relax the neck and shoulders, and we're going to stretch that hamstring on the right side. Tailbone stays down. We're going to reach up through the right leg, stretch the back of the right leg, and lower back down. Be sure you're not rocking to the left side of the pelvis. And reach up. Want to feel that tailbone right down to the floor as your ankle reaches to the ceiling. And bend the knee. Stay neutral. And stretch up with the right leg. And bend. We have 2 more repetitions. And then draw the pubic bone towards the navel to tilt the pelvis. Even yourself out at the back of the pelvis and feel the stretch in the left buttock. Relax the shoulders, relax the right leg. Breathe slowly. Now we're going to keep the back flat by re-engaging the inner core and tilting pubic bone to navel as we lower the right leg down. Keep the pelvic tilt. Keep the pelvic tilt as you bring the left foot down. And then relax into neutral. Now bring the hands behind the head. Just a little hip extension before we do the abdominal series. Engage the inner core. Tilt the saucer, knit and imprint. We're going to do a compound leg slide, letting the right heel slide away, keeping the pelvis tilted, and the left leg slide away, keeping it tilted, and the right slides back in, keep the pelvis tilted, and the left and keep the pelvis tilted, and then relax. Same thing, we're going to add a little head lift. Engage the inner core, tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint, lift the head, keep the pelvic tilt. This time start with the left leg and slide it away. Keep the pelvic tilt, right leg slides away and the left slides back in. We're still flattening the back, right leg slides back in. Keep the back flat as you lower the head, and then release. Arms down, relax to neutral. And we'll go through the abdominal series. Engage the inner core. Tilt the saucer, knit and imprint, and with the flat back staying in place, float the right foot up, and continue to tilt the saucer as you bring the left foot up, knit and imprint, head up, lower back flat, single leg stretch, both hands to one leg, extend the other leg out, lift the elbows high and wide, and then switch. And keep the pelvic tilt, keep the chin into the chest at the top of the body, and the pubic bone drawing towards the navel at the bottom of the body. You may like the legs a little higher than you normally use them. That's fine. Keep the lower back flattening down. And continue to flatten the lower back as we transition into the double leg stretch. Both knees bent, one hand on each knee. It's easy to have a flat back here, then keep tilting the pelvis, imprinting the ribs, and meet the challenge of the flat back as the legs and the arms go away from the center. And come back in. Exhale, extend both arms, both legs away from center. Keep that flat back and the back ribs imprinted. Inhale, come back into the center. Exhale, flat back as you extend away from the center. And inhale, come back in twice more. Exhale to move out. Inhale to come back in. Last time. One hand on each knee, put the head down, and we're going to rest for a moment. Knees into the chest, turn the head slowly. And then recenter the head. Reconnect with the inner core. Tilt the saucer. Lift the head. Keep the back flat as we go into the single straight leg. One leg up, one leg out, and then switch. Hold the up leg. Draw the pubic bone towards the navel. Keeping that flat back. Lift the elbows high and wide to open the chest. Then both legs straight up. Your back is still flat. Hands behind the head. Keep scooping the navel in. And imprinting those back ribs. Lower both legs just a little down. Keep the flat back. And come back up. Keep the back flat, please. Draw the navel towards the spine. Pubic bone towards navel. And lift back up. And again, pelvic tilt stays in place as the legs go down a little bit and back up. Make it small. A little bit down. Keep tilting the pelvis. Back up one more time. And then bend the knees, put your head down, rest your hands on your knees, relax. And now we're going to settle in to the flat back, tabletop position. Re-engage the inner core, tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint, and bring the hands behind the head for the crisscross. Lift the head up. Pelvis stays absolutely still. Lower back stays glued down to the mat as you bicycle the legs. And then reach on that diagonal across the torso. Armpit reaching towards the opposite bent knee. Keeping the lower back flat. And then bring the knees into the chest and rest the head down. Rock a little bit from side to side on the sacrum. Re-engage your inner core. Tilt the saucer, knit and imprint. Lift the feet as high as the knees. Keep the flat back. Lower the right foot down. Continue to flatten the back. And the left foot down. And then relax into neutral. So that's where we're going to leave it for today. So feel free to use the flat back if you like that added variety. If you have a spinal condition like a spondylolisthesis or a stenosis, I'm going to work with the flat back all the time. So to come out of this position, I want you to please move carefully. You just did a lot of supporting. So the best way out here is to roll to one side. And then gently use the top hand to lever you up. Notice if your leg wants to kick out, you're going to be suddenly engaging your psoas to get yourself up. So let's try not to do that on the way up. All right, that'll do it. Thank you. Enjoy the day. We'll be back here again on Saturday, and we are also going to have Wednesday at 5 o'clock here. All right, take care. Thanks.